Before we get to our show, here is a podcast we think you're going to love.
Hey everyone, you're invited to Harpy Hour! I'm Tracy. I'm Liz.
I'm Steph.
We are the Harpies, and Harpy Hour is our new podcast featuring ridiculous stories in history, science, and entertainment.
Were you ever suspicious that pigeons were secretly spying on you?
How do you know who to eat first if you survive a shipwreck? Do problematic musicals send you into an uncontrollable rage?
If so, then Harpy Hour might be your new favorite podcast. That's HARPY for Harpy, and new episodes air every Tuesday wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can also find us on all social media at Harpy Hour Pod. And check us out on harpyhourpodcast.com. Okay, bye!
Well, Samantha, we're here to complain about the thing we're supposed to Unsolved Mysteries. We were already complaining, so I hit record because, we might as well get it on the record.
We might as well add some time to this episode because this was maybe the most forgettable episode of Unsolved Mysteries in recent memory.
It's just
what did I watch? I don't even remember.
I seriously watched this yesterday, and it's like,
I watched it this morning. I took one note on this whole episode, and it wasn't even one of my segments. So that should tell you.
It sucks. Yeah. Oh, did I mention that this is Perhaps It's You, your favorite Unsolved Mysteries Rewatch podcast?
At this point, do you think we're anyone's favorite Unsolved Mysteries Rewatch podcast?
Yes, absolutely. Don't be so down on yourself.
That's no, we have at least 5 people that claim it's their favorite. That's true.
I guarantee my mom is not listening to another Unsolved Mysteries Rewatch podcast. So
there's so many of them out there now.
I know. Even though we weren't the first, I am a little bit like, that's our thing.
I still think we were one of the OGs, though, don't you? We jumped on it pretty quickly.
I mean, once it was available stream, we're not uncovering unexplained mysteries.
No, they were truly the OG.
Doing it from the DVDs. Once it was available streaming, we did get on it pretty quick. I'll give us credit for that, but the things we could be doing instead of talking about this. Here we are.
Do we have any updates?
I was wondering if we should talk about the nonsense at the Capitol, or it's not like I have any special insight or.
No, I for sure don't. I feel like I've been doing nothing but doom scrolling for the last week.
Yeah,
but the quality of the doom is unprecedented, so I don't even feel that bad about it. But every once in a while, I feel like I need to come up for air from Twitter or wherever I'm doom scrolling. I think everyone's in the same boat, but I don't have any good takes. I will say, if you want some catharsis, there are some Twitter accounts that are doing some incredible work trying to identify these. Yes, in a lot of ways, the shitheads who stormed the Capitol made it really easy because they didn't cover their faces, which is objectively hilarious. If you're so anti-COVID that you won't even put a mask on to hide your face when you're committing an obvious crime, that's just objectively hilarious to me. So in a lot of ways, they made it really easy, live streaming while they were doing it, posting their names on Parler with a caption, "Look at me invading the Capitol." But there are some accounts doing some really incredible work trying to identify these idiots, and the way they're doing it is incredible to me. I watched them identify this guy who had none of his face, no identifiable features showing whatsoever. All you could tell was that he had very specific tactical gear on, and so the amount of investigative work going on is being crowdsourced right now, where they identified the shirt he was wearing, and then they found a live stream from a hotel room after the fact where he had a scar on his neck, and then someone found his Facebook and you could see the exact scar. It was amazing. It was amazing. So watching these people go down in this crowdsourcing investigative fashion has been super fun. So if you want some catharsis, you could check that out. I wish I had at my fingertips some account to recommend, but you'll find them. That's been great.
Once you told me that the woman from Don't Fuck with Cats,
Oh,
Bonnie
yeah.
Rubin, once you told me that she was on the case, I was like, they're all doomed.
They're doomed. There's no
It's
stopping us now.
it's the worst. I was originally calling it a coup, but that's like too. Like a coup is like has a plan. A coup is like organized. This is just a LARP. This is just a like criminal LARP because it's hilarious to me that they had no like real plan of what to do once they got inside. So they ended up just like trashing stuff and taking selfies like children.
There's some really funny photos where they're like staying inside like these
The
like
ropes,
the
the velvet ropes.
where they're like following through this line as if they're just tourists. It's ridiculous. I do think that collectively they didn't have a plan, but there are some like subgroups that clearly were like they had come with zip ties and like
that's
were ready
true.
to take
Yeah.
hostages and like the only reason I know this is because I've been following these crowdsourcing investigators for a week. So I do think there were, which is scary. It's really scary because it sort of seems like there are a lot of people taking it seriously, but also no one who could do anything about it is taking it seriously is really how it feels. Because if the FBI wanted to find out who all these people are, they could, right? It just shouldn't have to be
sure. Yeah.
like users on Reddit and Twitter to find these people. So that makes it a little scary, but
I mean, you would think
we can do about it
that they wouldn't be allowed to leave.
Yeah, you'd think the best time to grab them would be like while they're committing the crime, but
like while a guy is carrying out the podium, maybe you could have arrested him then.
You could have stopped him. Nobody asked me though.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you previously had thought we were, being too hard on cops and they were actually good at their job and they're not just a bunch of white supremacists, I think this. I mean, I can't say that any of this is really surprising. It just really kind of drives that point home. The thing that's been slowly building for hundreds of years,
Yeah, it's really not surprising to anyone who's actually been following what's been going on in the right-wing spheres. So it's cool that it was just allowed to happen.
Yeah, because the cops were like, "Oh, hey, Fred."
Hey.
Like they're buddies. They all know each other.
Come on.
Yeah.
Well.
But the idea that you would think, like, oh, this is a revolution. We're going to break inside the Capitol. Yeah, what are you going to do once you're in there? I'm going to pose for a photo at Nancy Pelosi's desk. Like, oh. You're not going to, like, instill a new government? Or it's like, no, I'm probably just going to, like, knock a bunch of papers on the floor. Okay.
Yes, there's a performative aspect to it for sure. And I've seen articles to that effect where it's like, they're just in there taking selfies. Like this is just a performance for other white right-wing dum-dums.
Yeah, most of them don't know what they're doing. And some guy was talking about how like he like got on a megaphone and was talking about how like everything was going to be half off. He was like declaring some sort of sale. I don't know.
That's what I would do if I started a revolution. Be like, everything's unclear.
Everything. I was just like, what are you talking about?
Look, he stood for something. All right.
I mean, that guy had more of a plan than a lot of those bozos. He was like, I want cheap stuff. I'm going to the Capitol. Like, probably head over to Marshall's, but...
Yeah, that's already there, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be a fashionista. Yeah, well, anyway, we're still here.
Still here, still talking about Unsolved Mysteries. My only update is actually an apology for my horseshit audio from our last episode. Remote recording continues to be the worst, and seems to be such that you could do everything exactly the same, and from one week to another, your audio sounds completely different. I'm actually in a closet right now, so I hope, like a true podcaster, I'm in a closet, so I hope that my audio is better. Hello, editing Samantha here. Obviously, my audio, it's not better. I might need a new microphone or something. I am working on it, but we weren't going to re-record the episode. we don't have the energy for that. We're just going to chalk it up to technology's a bitch, and we hope that it's not distracting for this episode. Know that we're working on it, and I'm sorry. I sat in the closet for no reason. That was really cramped. Yeah, that kind of sucks. Anyway, hopefully we have it fixed for the next episode. Sorry. But I really did enjoy having Arden on the show last week. That's always fun. Big thanks to friend of the pod, Arden, for coming on and doing our work for us.
Yeah, that was a huge relief, man. She knew a lot about Anastasia. A lot that I don't know and don't remember.
And, and couldn't be bothered to research, frankly.
Yeah. She really needs to start her own podcast.
Yes. She's such a good voice.
Oh,
She's really good at talking, which I feel like I'm not. So
that's not true, but she should. I would be a devoted 5 listener to.
Absolutely.
One of the 5 to the Arden pod. I feel like we might have said the wrong name for one of our thank yous last week.
Did we?
I think we needed to thank Becky.
Oh, Becky. You're right. I think I said Robin for some reason.
So thank you, Becky. And also, if there's a Robin out there, just like thank you too. But
thank you. I don't even know who that is.
But more importantly, thank you to Becky for our lovely gift.
Becky sent us that snack box from around the world, and I still haven't eaten any. And since the first ones that I ate, but since then I have not gotten into those snacks. So I'm excited. Maybe someday we'll be able to record in person and have a snack hour.
Oh my god. Okay, I actually have a snack hour update.
Oh, wow, this is perfect. We did hear from at least one listener who wanted us to bring back snack time, so this is for them.
I have one snack time update, which is that we weren't going to get that sponsorship from Tokyo Treat, but now we're like really not going to get it. I've been getting the Tokyo Treat box for a few months now. We did a snack time where we both ate out of our October box.
Yes, that was fun.
And I've gotten a few more since then because I signed up for 6 months. Kind of a disappointment.
Oh, bummer.
Because they're kind of all the same.
Okay.
Sure. So I feel like doing one or sending your friend one, totally fun. Totally worth it. I do recommend that. Getting more than one,
okay. It kind of ruins the surprise when you're getting it monthly if it's just the same thing over and over again.
I've just gotten like different things and like the same thing in different flavors, I mean.
Okay.
And I've gotten so many just like corn chips that just taste, I don't know, like nothing special. Where I'm just like, okay. Like, I guess I technically hadn't had this, but like, who would know? Sure. I understand that they can't put, or they probably don't want to put a lot of like chocolate things or melty things in the box. So I won't hold that against them. But there's also like no rice crackers. So many corn crackers. Okay. I don't know. It's very samey. So when I opened up my January box, I was like, all right. I was like not excited about it at all. So I would say stick to one. You don't need more than one. That's my update.
That's a good suggestion.
I thought it would be this really nice thing to like make winter more bearable this year, but now I just have a bunch of like samey little bags of chips that I don't really want. So
okay, yeah,
that's my snack time update.
That's a good one.
Okay, now let's. God, I don't want to do this. Season 6, episode 4. You can watch it on YouTube, but I would say do not bother. There is so many better things you could do with your time. Like basically anything. Take a bath. Take a nap.
Yeah.
Just lay in bed and don't go to sleep. Just enjoy the coziness of your bed for a while. Like, really appreciate it. That would be a better use of your time than this.
Watch some cute dog videos on YouTube instead. This is a waste of time. Yeah. But we should probably talk about it.
It's almost a little bit our job, so we'll do it. We'll push through. You have the first one.
And I have the first one, which is an unexplained death, which is actually explained, but I guess we still have to talk about it like it's not. So Ted...
It's so long!
It's really long, and it's so explained. Even back then, it was explained. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for Ted and his family. I'm sorry for Ted's mom, Zell, but This is an explained death. Okay.
I'm also jealous of the name Zell.
Yeah, her full name was Zelda, I think. So
She
she was
just went
going
by
around by
Zell.
Zell, which is very
So
I
cool.
really like it. So Ted Losif was a 40-year-old orthopedic surgeon living in Hancock Park near Los Angeles, California. He had married 2 years earlier and was having marital issues. There was apparently a prenuptial agreement that stated that his wife, Wilda, would get nothing if the marriage ended in divorce. At 8 p.m. on the evening of February 23rd, 1974, she called the police claiming that he was inside the house with a gun. The police arrived along with a family friend. They got the keys from Wilda and entered the house. The police and this friend. They searched the house though, but they didn't find him until a few minutes later. They entered the garage and discovered that he was dead in his car. There was a hose pumping in the exhaust. Authorities quickly ruled the death a suicide. They didn't perform an autopsy or much of an investigation. I think they thought it was a pretty clear-cut case. He had left a note. Yeah. So this suicide note I mentioned asked his wife for compassion. Ted's mother, Zell, however, believes that he was murdered. So this whole thing comes about because Zell is convinced that he was murdered, and the story she tells, this theory she has about
Oh boy.
how and why he was murdered is so complicated. And I just want to tell Zell, I understand you're mourning. You don't want to believe that your son killed himself, but sometimes the simplest explanation is the true explanation. And yeah, anyway, so she believes he was murdered. Shortly after his death, she met with Wilda, and Wilda indicated that she was happy that Ted was dead. According to Zell, they met at the restaurant, and she had wanted like a timepiece or something. Zell did, and she like I don't know, Wilda like tossed it to her, and then was basically as she was leaving, she was like, "I'm not sad, he's dead" or something. Which I guess they were having marital issues. It's not a very nice thing to say.
To his mother?
To someone's mother when they just died. So, I mean, Wilda might be a bitch, but that doesn't mean that she murdered him. I don't know. As evidence goes, it's flimsy, I would say.
She
but
really was like, he didn't mean as much to me as he did to you.
That's right. I was trying to remember the quote because I took bad notes.
I'm glad he's dead.
Yeah,
Which,
and then she just
awkward dinner. Bad dinner.
Yeah, awkward. And like I said, so Wilda was a bitch. I don't know what that means that she murdered him, but at this point, Zell becomes convinced that she had, or that she had at least arranged it. But Zell began to believe that her son had not committed suicide. She believed that Wilda was involved in his death. The discrepancies with the death scene came to Zell in a bizarre dream. Yes. Yeah. So at this point she describes it as a vision that she had in a dream where she remembered that before Ted's death the garage had been filled with boxes and other shit. But Ted had back surgery shortly before his death, and she says would have been unable to move all of the boxes to put his car in the garage. So she was like, well, how did he get his car in the garage? How did he clean it out? And I just want to be like, why would the murderers do this?
Like, you know how murderers really like to stick around a crime scene for a super long time after killing someone.
Well, they would have had to clean the garage before killing him because she said he couldn't have been able to get his car in the garage because there was too much garbage. So the murderers decided the easiest way to kill him would be to clean the garage first.
Yes, murderers love to do chores. I hope that when I'm murdered, they get up there and they clean out those gutters because they're going to need it.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm murdered, if they could clean up around the house before the cops get there and everyone else has to come see my dirty house, that would be helpful.
Yeah. So they'll be like, wow, Samantha kept a really clean house. It's a shame she's gone.
Little do you know, the murderers were in there dusting before you showed up. I don't know. So
it's quite a stretch. It's
the evidence.
It's more of a stretch. We've seen a lot of people in denial about the death of their relatives, but the idea that just because he couldn't have cleaned out the garage, that means nobody else could have? His
Or-
wife couldn't have done it? Some neighborhood kid he couldn't have paid a kid $20? Like,
no matter how many boxes are in your garage, you can probably push them out of the way. And if that's how you want to kill yourself, you probably just push them out of the way and drive your car
find the
through them.
motivation. I don't know
Yeah.
that if he really wanted to kill himself, he would be that worried about his back. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, he's not going to be like, I don't want to strain my back anymore because I'm getting a lot more years of use out of it. Because he's not.
Yeah. So also she remembered that the gate to the garage was difficult to move, and as a result, Ted always parked his car outside of the gate near the front of the house, except that he needed his car to kill himself. So of course he drove it in.
Samantha, that gate was kind of finicky. So have you thought about that? Have you thought about the fact that would have been a little bit annoying and therefore he didn't kill himself?
Yeah, because an inconvenience is what's going to stop you. I understand that Zell is looking for reasons and looking for evidence. It's just that it's not there, and so she comes up with these.
Her story of like the murderers came in the house and then they did this and then they did this and then they did this and then they did this. Like the only way to get the facts to line up with her theory makes the most convoluted long story that you're just like, there's no way that's true. But this, why? What? Why would it's so much effort.
It's a lot of effort. So after these, quote, inconsistencies came to light for Zell, she decided to look for more information in an attempt to reverse the ruling on her son's death. She tracked down Ted and Wilda's former housekeeper, Mary, who also felt that Ted's death was suspicious. Mary claimed that the afternoon of his death, she arrived at the home and learned that Ted was planning to divorce Wilda. This is where it starts getting a little wild and a little hard to follow. Shortly after, Wilda came downstairs in, Zell says, quote, hysterics, claiming that Ted had a gun. Mary said that she did not see a gun. Mary told Ted that she did not want to work while the two were fighting, so she got paid and then left. As she was pulling out of the driveway, however, she noticed Wilda in the street. Wilda told Mary that she was afraid to go back into the house, so Mary agreed to walk Wilda back inside so that she could call the police. After arriving back at the house, Mary called the police. However, they told her that nothing could be done because she had not actually seen Ted with the gun. Mary tried to call the Losif's home, but the line was busy. Between 3 p.m. and 8 p.m., Mary attempted to call the home 20 times, but each time she got a busy signal. Then after 8 p.m., she called Ted again, and the phone finally rang. However, Ted did not answer. So at that point, Mary decided to call the police again, and then by that time, it was 9 p.m., and the police had arrived and found Ted's body. I don't know what any of this means. But
I don't think it means anything. I think people have forgotten that it was easy to think you had hung up your phone and accidentally leave it off the hook.
Right.
Like, it was easy
sometimes
to
that
just...
tone wasn't very loud, and you didn't realize it until you...
Yes. And then it's like, oh, my phone's been busy for the past 8 hours or whatever. Or he's getting ready to kill himself, and he left it off the hook. Or, I don't know. That doesn't prove anything.
Yeah, and there's this whole thing about his shirts and how she never used hangers. She only ever used these... I don't... because the note was written on...
A shirt cardboard.
Which they never used. I don't understand what that has to do with anything. There was also, like, some vomit found on the bed. Like, Mary found some, like... she didn't call it vomit, but she called it, like, this mustard colored gross stuff on the sheets, and then when she washed the sheets they disintegrated, which I don't know what that has to do with anything. And the autopsy revealed that he had vomited before his death, but it wasn't like despite how much vomit the autopsy said that he produced, it wasn't like found on him. So then that came to this theory that he like was attacked in his bed and then put in the garage. And
it actually explains why he's changed his clothes, is that he threw up.
Right.
And changed his clothes before killing himself. It's not that...
Well, and Zell is suspicious because apparently Wilda told Mary that it was actually the dogs that had thrown up, and I don't know. I don't
Okay. Well, first of all, she's not going to know if it was her husband's vomit prior to killing himself. She wasn't there. So she's probably just guessing. Oh, we have dogs. That's probably from them. They make a mess everywhere. Just why are you asking me about this? Wash the sheets. And then she does such a bad job washing them that they like explode.
And I still do not understand what that is evidence of, but that is
It's evidence
nefarious.
of nothing.
Yeah. So this is what Zell believes happens. She believes that shortly after Mary and Wilda left the house, Ted was attacked by at least 2 men. She believes that the men were close to Wilda. They presumably entered through the back door, which Wilda told them was unlocked. The autopsy indicated that Ted had been in a struggle. Zell believes that the men took Ted to the guest bedroom, which is where the vomit was found, and forced poison down his throat. One of the assailants
Why?
then
That's
took
such a hard way to kill someone.
They forced poison down his throat. Then one of the assailants took the phone off the hook, which explains why this is Zell's idea of what happened, which explains why Mary couldn't get a hold of them, in order to signify to Wilda that the attack was in place. This was, a message to Wilda that the phone was off the hook. They then cleaned and undressed Ted and put him in different clothes that Mary noticed the clothes that he was wearing.
Why?
Don't know. The assailant, well, because he had fresh clothes on and was clean, so she has to explain that somehow.
But why would they bother to do it? That would be such a pain to dress a corpse for no reason.
So the assailants moved the boxes in the garage at that point, opened up the gate, drove Ted's car into the garage, and then put Ted's body in the car. After finishing everything, one of the assailants then hung up the phone, telling Wilda that the job was done.
I like the idea that they were like, okay, now we got to clean out the garage. That's going to take a good, 4 hours. So
it takes so long to clean a garage.
Let's make some lemonade. Be sure to stay hydrated. Take some lift with your knees. And then the neighbors are like, who are those 2 guys cleaning out that garage all afternoon? Probably murderers. That's what murderers do. It's like frustrating to me.
It's frustrating to me that we had to watch this.
It's really frustrating to me that Unsolved Mysteries indulges this theory, that they indulge this woman's delusion instead of being like, no, this is solved.
Right, because at the very end, Zell says something that I think is really telling, which is that if my son's death could be changed to homicide, and we could find, because Wilda ends up dying, I believe, in an overdose at that point, but she still wanted them to find the quote-unquote murderers, and she says if we were able to find them, then I could finally have peace or something, which clearly she's feeling this unresolved.
Right.
She has all these unresolved emotions surrounding him killing himself, and she thinks that she could get closure if she was able to find out that he was murdered definitively. So I think that's really telling. She's clearly, obviously the story is absolutely implausible, but she's reaching for something. So in March of 1982, the Los Angeles County coroner did order an inquest. At the inquest, a friend testified that the suicide note was written by Ted, but that Ted had written the note 2 years earlier following an argument, which was much earlier in his marriage. The inquest ultimately ruled that Ted's death was a homicide. On May 1st, 1983, and I think the main evidence of that was that he had written the suicide note earlier. That's it. I don't know.
Right.
Which that just shows that he could have been depressed for a long time. That. Whatever. Okay, so on May 1st, 1983, Wilda died from an overdose. 2 years after Wilda's death, the authorities completed their inquiry, ruling the cause of Ted's death undetermined. However, Zell is convinced that someone has gotten away with murder and still hopes that the case will be solved and that the men Wilda hired allegedly can be identified and arrested. So obviously there is no update. No new investigations were ever done into the death of Dr. Losif, and Zell passed away in 2010.
Sorry, Zell.
I know. I am sorry, Zell. It's terrible. The situation is terrible, but yeah, I I don't believe there is
There's really not a motive.
a
I guess
motive.
other
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 than
than the
Wilda was a
prenup.
bitch.
Yeah.
And she claims because she would get money. Like if they got a divorce, she wouldn't have gotten money because of the prenup. So I guess that was the.
Where did she get the money to pay these two murderers to be at their house the whole entire day? That doesn't sound cheap.
No, I mean the hourly rate on just cleaning the garage alone.
There is some great fashion in this segment, I will say.
That's true. That's an upside.
There's some really 70s housewife fashion, like how they want the Stepford wives to be, like the end of the Stepford wives when they're all walking through the grocery store. It's a lot of stuff like that. And Zell wears a really amazing hat to the funeral or the funeral reenactment. Reenactment Ted has a mustache.
Okay.
Which is a very thick, looks like a drawing of a mustache that I called It's Me, Mario.
How have we not had that name for a mustache yet?
I don't know. I do not know.
Finally.
Okay, so now this might annoy me even more than the one we just did. It's a treasure.
Why is that? Oh, okay.
The treasure. It might be I'm going to say this is my least favorite treasure that we've done.
This treasure is garbage. This is not a treasure.
The treasure is water.
Even if it existed, this is not a treasure.
The treasure is, water that may or may not exist. Now, look, I realize water is a valuable resource, and I realize that one day I'm going to die in the clean water wars. But
Sure.
This is just like the theory of water. That water might exist underground. That's the treasure. Also,
it's specific water, not just underground water in general.
Maybe there's water. Okay, fine. There might be water somewhere in the desert, basically. And we can get more into it, but I hate the dude that's trying to claim this for himself. Why is that his?
It's not.
Why is a natural resource that everyone literally needs to survive? And he's like, I should make money off of this. And I'm like, no, you absolutely should not.
No.
I hate you. Anyway.
Well, you're not the only one. There's a few like engineers and water planners in this episode that clearly despise him as well.
Yeah, so I'm not a fan of basically anything going on here. Also, you know that Robert Stack loves to wax poetic about the desert, and so he does that to introduce the segment. But whenever he's talking about the desert, he's talking about it like it shouldn't exist. Which, like, it's an abomination. And he literally talks about the species that live there. He says that evolution has sentenced them to live there. Which is not how evolution works. And also, it's just like, it's not a punishment to be in the desert. You
know how old-timey, like, people would, like, put pigs on trial? Like, if a cow, like, killed the farmer, they would, like, put it on trial. That's what happened to all, but God did it. There was, like, a little trial for, like, I don't know, sand snakes or whatever. Snakes. Yeah. They were sentenced to live in the desert.
Take that, Roadrunner. You're sentenced to live in the desert. I was like, Robert Stack, what did the desert do to you? Calm down. Okay, so this is the treasure in this, as we said, is an underground river that may or may not have gold in Nevada, per some legend. And it's at the bottom of this underground cavern, and it was supposedly once found, quote, running far below the cactus and the scorpions.
Poor scorpions, their little scorpion chain gang.
Has Robert Stack ever been to a desert? Like, I sort of feel like no. Okay. So this is, it starts off, we hear about this guy, Earl Dorr, who, like, climbed down into this cavern through this thin opening and supposedly followed an underground river for 8 miles. And when a historian is talking about this legend, he says, he refers to it as an almost too good to be true type situation.
You don't say.
Because the river is also, like, full of gold. Like, you could pan for gold and there'd be tons of gold in it, and I don't know, whatever.
My only note from this whole episode that I actually wrote down was from this segment, and it was when they were panning for gold, and Robert Stack calls it fancy dirt.
I somehow missed that in my rage. And that's obviously what we're calling this episode.
Fancy
dirt.
Which I guess if it's dirt with gold in it, it is fancy.
Wow.
Why does that sound like a meme to me though? Like Robert
Yeah.
Stack is before his time. Is ahead of his time.
Fancy dirt. So the problem with Earl Dorr finding this underground river surrounded by fancy dirt was that the land that he used to get into the cavern, didn't belong to him. So
That's the
yeah,
problem.
the problem was that he was trespassing and us had no right to be there. So he believed he could find another way into the cavern and then decided to dynamite the original opening.
Seems like a bad plan, Earl.
I was also like, again, this land doesn't belong to you. Should you be dynamiting it?
No, I think that for sure not.
Okay, so anyway, he was never able to find a way in again, supposedly. And over the next 50 years, according to Unsolved Mysteries, people tried to find it and never could because guess what? It doesn't exist. Sorry you weren't able to find your magical underground cavern full of fancy dirt. Okay, now we take a jump in time in the story, and it somehow is even more annoying when we start to hear about scientist Wally Spencer, who studied space shuttle photographs of the Earth that were taken in the 80s, and he thought he saw an ancient riverbed through the Nevada desert that would be, though dry, would be evidence of oil today. So he invents this thing that supposedly can find oil by finding places where the Earth's natural emission of radiation is being blocked. This is his
I don't care.
Yeah, who does? So this was like his invention. He came up with this way of supposedly finding oil. But according to Wally Stack, according to Robert Stack, Wally had
little known brother, Wally Stack.
Wally Stack. No one liked him. Wally had no idea if his device actually worked.
It's helpful, Wally.
Yeah, great. So to test it, he decided to drive around the Nevada desert for 3 weeks. Okay. I was like, there had to be a better way to test it where you would know if it was working or not just literally drive around and see if it beeps at you, which is what they did. So after it reacts to one spot, he's hoping it's oil, but then for some reason that is not made clear to me in any way, they decide it's actually an underground river.
Okay, it could just be an accident that it just went off. It just beeped once. You've been driving around for 3 weeks, it beeps once, and you decide your device that is designed to find oil didn't find oil, actually. It found water.
He hasn't drilled. He doesn't know what's under there. He just has a box that beeped at him. That's it.
Sounds like water to me.
And he literally has no idea if it actually works. But then for some reason they speculate that the river could produce 17 billion gallons of water a day. Based on what? We're just making things up, I guess.
And no one knows that it's there?
Yeah, we'll get to some people that are just as frustrated as me. Wally also has a mustache. He can't win. He's semi a dirtbag to me. His mustache is trimmed too short. So I called it the regrets. You know that meme where the guy has the tattoo that says no regrets, but he spelled it wrong. Yeah. No regrets. That's his mustache. I realize a mustache is not as permanent as a tattoo, but it was a mistake. Okay. So, but then again, is this Wally's land? No! That's what I hate about all of these treasure segments, is it's just white guys wandering around, deciding they get to keep whatever they find. What? Yeah, why? Why? Who lives on this land? Just because Robert Stack hates the desert doesn't mean it doesn't belong to anybody. There's probably been people living there for thousands of years. I hate everything. Okay. So and Unsolved Mysteries also acts like it's a bad that he ends off in a bureaucratic standoff with state officials. Should he just be able to take whatever he wants? How does that?
I'm gonna say no.
How does that not? I don't even know that this guy lives in Nevada. He just looked at aerial photographs of the Earth. Why does he get their water resource? Okay, whatever. So so what you're supposed to do if you find water, which, yeah, the state of Nevada could use, you're supposed to, like, file for some sort of water permit. But he was, like, insisting that he got a finder's fee. Again, he does not know that there's anything there. And so he's insisting to the state that he gets a finder's fee for the 17 billion gallons of water that are there. And they're like, no, you have to file for a permit like everyone else. Shut
Also, you
up.
haven't proven that there's water there.
Which I guess is maybe that's part of the permit process. I don't really know. But why he just, like, assumes he's this special exception for some reason because he made a beeping box. I don't get it, and I hate it. So now we hear from this former Nevada state water planner. I think this is the MVM.
Okay.
This guy was named Rhett Jesse. He has a mustache, and I called his mustache the Dashing Gentleman.
Nice. I feel like the only people who should be allowed to have a mustache are people named Rhett.
Yes. This mustache
That's
has...
a new law. I'm not sure if people know about this.
Yeah, that's a new law we just established right now. Yeah, but I mean, for white guys, definitely. Because this has some, like, Princess Bride vibes.
Okay.
He's kind of pulling it off. I'm impressed. So, and he also is like, guy, you just have to... Nobody's trying to steal your right to file for this. You just have to do it. Like, he was like, a lawyer can help you. You just fill out the paperwork. It's like, oh my God. Okay. So
is this the guy that called his beeping box no different than someone with a stick? Like,
no, that was a different dude. Yeah, some other guy was like, I don't really see the difference between having this box that beeps and being a well witch, which is when you go out and you douse for water with a willow branch or whatever, which I don't understand how that works, and it's totally amazing. Actually, I would have more faith if he had done that than this box thing.
Well, that's actually an established, like, people actually do that. This is just a box that beeps
Right.
once.
It's like a very poor, ugly robot. So then we get a scene of Wally trying to talk to a lawyer in his house, but they scan the room. Okay, Wally is convinced that someone is going to steal the location of this water. I don't know.
He thinks they found a bug in his room?
Yes! He thinks his phone is tapped and they find a bug on the back of the picture, and I just refuse to believe it. Also, if that's true, just go to your lawyer's office.
Yeah.
And who's getting into your house to put bugs on stuff?
No one.
But that's why he didn't want to file the water permit, is because when you file it, you have to say what location it is. Obviously, you can't just be like, for the whole state of Nevada, I get all the water. So he was afraid someone would, like, steal it, which this guy Rhett was like, what are you talking about? I just wrote down, he refused to disclose location, annoying everyone. And then his wife, who's just, like, just as annoying as him, at the end is like, we're not telling where that water is. Like, okay.
I don't think anyone's asking.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone actually thinks it's there.
So don't, bitch. Why is this on Unsolved Mysteries? A guy refuses to make a permit for his water. That's the, like, guy refuses to fill out form. Mystery. Why is he such an asshole? Okay, the update is that Wally Spencer died without his water in 2003. His bitch wife, Beverly, has since filed water rights with 16 different applications, all of which were still pending at the time they made the update, and I didn't look to see if there was anything else. I'll look right now. You don't like these people. This water should belong to everybody. They're so selfish.
Yeah.
I don't
know. This is not a treasure. It's water.
Everybody needs water literally to live. You shouldn't be selling it like this. This is terrible. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm glad he's dead, but...
Okay, the motivation for modern water guy, I've already forgotten his name, was his motivation the water, or was it the gold?
Okay, I think the modern guy doesn't believe in the fancy dirt. I think he just wants the to sell the water to, like, I don't know, a town. I'm sure they could, like, pipe
the
it.
Time I watched this segment,
to
I
a
thought he was
city.
just after the gold, and the water was a way to find the gold.
I
But
think
I
he
guess I
literally just
didn't
wanted
pay attention.
water. Maybe he was gonna sell it to Nestle or some shit. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, there's no further update on Unsolved Mysteries Wiki. They do have a few articles I refuse to read, such as quenching the thirst of the West. And has Rocket Engineer really found a river? No!
What a waste of time.
Yeah.
This whole episode is.
I'm gonna go pour a cup of water on this guy's grave. Here's your river.
Okay, we have one more. We actually had an unnecessary update, which takes up a lot of time. But
Yeah, remember that Franklin Grant Perkins biker murder?
yeah, that was
think that
really early on.
Yeah, I think that was the one that involved Billy Idol. Anyway, they do an update on that, and you go, I know.
It's
I saw
not
that
an
ages
update so
ago.
much as the entire original segment played over again.
Yeah,
So
bad.
that's a more wasted time. But then we have a lost love.
Yes.
All right, are we done talking about the non-treasure water story now?
Yeah, I'm just mad.
That's fine. Okay, so then our last segment in this episode is a lost love. We are looking for Christopher Kurowski, who is the son of Helena and Apollinary Kurowski, and brother of Michelle Kurowski. Helena had previously married an infantryman who was later killed by the Nazis. She was taken prisoner and forced to be a nurse in a German POW camp for 6 years. Shortly before the end of the war, a German soldier helped her escape. She was in Austria, which was then occupied by the Allies, when Apollinary picked her up. He cared for her, and they fell in love and were married. The Kurowskis stayed in Austria, and in October 1946 adopted Christopher. Within a month, they moved to England to be in a refugee camp. Apollinary worked as a mechanic, and Michelle was born in 1950. So Michelle, whose last name was changed to Burrell, I assume through marriage, is interviewed from Unsolved Mysteries. Her accent sounds like she's faking it, although I don't think she is.
No, I don't think she is.
I was so distracted the entire segment. She has a very unique accent that I do think is legitimate, but really sounds like someone faking a British accent. Her only memory, anyway, she seems very nice.
She also has a killer smoky eye look.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, her makeup is on point. So Michelle was born in 1950, and her only memory of Christopher involved them having fun playing in their yard. The Kurowskis wanted to emigrate to the United States. However, the process took several months. Another family in the camp was more successful. The father asked the Kurowskis if Christopher could go with them, and they agreed because they wanted him to start school there. Helena was hesitant, but Apollinary insisted that he would get a better education in the United States, so they let him go. Weeks passed as Helena and Apollinary waited for their visas. But at that point, outlandish rumors had begun circulating through the refugee camp. Helena,
which are kind of amazing and hilarious.
So in the reenactment, Helena is sitting at the table with another woman from the camp, and the other woman is very seriously telling her that in California, if you set your baby outside and leave them alone for 5 minutes, they'll get eaten by monkeys.
Yeah, there's a rash of kidnappings in California. Monkey kidnapping.
Monkey kidnapping. Which I'm sure was really scary. I mean, they just Robert Stack describes America as like a mysterious land, which I'm sure it was to them.
She doesn't know better. She doesn't know that California is not teeming with monkeys and that those monkeys aren't eating child brains, I guess. So tons of Polish immigrants immigrated to Chicago. Chicago has like the largest Polish-speaking population outside of Poland. And I was kind of wondering if that was because these rumors about California.
They wouldn't go to California.
They're like, okay, we can't go to California because of that monkey problem. But I've heard Chicago has very similar weather to Poland. Maybe we should immigrate there.
That's funny. That would be amazing if monkey rumors was the reason.
I mean, I'm not really sure what the reason is, but
so because of
it might be that.
So because of the monkey rumors, Helena soon became too afraid. It's not even clear to me if that really was the nature of the rumors was killer monkeys. They don't really say. It's just what's replayed in the reenactment, but I believe
if that's not what was said, that's rude that they made it up because it's ridiculous.
That's true.
They could have at have said something legitimate like Florida has alligators or there's tornadoes there. Like, there's stuff you could have said that's scary about the United States that's true. They're a bunch of bozos. Don't go there. But instead it was like, it's full of kidnapping monkeys that will get your children. It makes her sound like an idiot.
That's true. Well, it makes the other lady sound like an idiot, at least. Although Helena did believe them. So, because of the rumors, Helena became too afraid to go to the United States. The Kurowskis made the decision to withdraw their visa applications, and they sent a letter asking the other family to send Christopher back to them. However, in a return letter, the family said that he had already settled in the United States and had made friends in school, and so they did not want to send him back, which doesn't seem like something they should be able to do.
Weird. Actually, we're just gonna keep your kid. Yeah, we just decided we want to raise more children. We definitely want to pay to feed and house your kid.
Yeah, that's kind of shitty. So Apollinary went to the Polish consulate in an attempt to get Christopher back. However, all of his adoption papers and other records were sent there, so it was impossible for the Kurowskis to obtain him. For years, they sent letters to the other family. However, they never received a response. In 1960,
that's bold. They were worried about kidnapping monkeys, and it turned out to be their kidnapping friends.
Yeah, that is
irony.
It is ironic and really sad. So, in 1966, Michelle turned 16. She decided that she would find Christopher, and she wrote a letter to the American embassy. 2 months later, she received a reply from Christopher, and he said that he had been drafted and was in Vietnam. He also said that he was now going by the name Stan Smith. She wrote him back, but the Kurowskis never heard from him again. In 1973, Michelle moved to the United States. After Apollinary died, Helena also moved there. Sadly, she had passed away in April 1992. Her dying wish was that her children would someday be reunited.
So sweet.
So, fortunately, this case is solved. After the case aired in 1996, Christopher's adopted sister Rose called the telecenter. He
to say, sorry, my parents are kidnappers.
No kidding.
Whoops.
So his adopted name, I'm not even going to try and pronounce this, but it was Christopher with a different last name. He was now living in New York. A month later, he and Michelle were reunited at her home in Houston, Texas. At the reunion, she met his wife Ellen, and he met her husband Derek, as well as their children and grandchildren. So it's really
I'm kind of disappointed he didn't go to Chicago, gotta say.
Yeah.
Stan Smith. Well, when she couldn't get back in touch with him right away, I was like, well, he is in a war, right? So that
right. It was kind of remarkable to me that they even like connected them. Like the U.S. consulate was able to connect them, and he was in Vietnam when he wrote the letter. So I think
under a different name. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they got back together. I hope I guess there's probably not really an explanation for the kidnapping. Just, we got used to having Christopher around, so no dice. You can't have your own child.
Yeah, sucks.
Wow. But believe it or not, folks, that is the end of the episode. That's all you get.
Thanks, Satan. Okay, should we rate it?
Yeah, sadly we have to.
Mysteriousness?
Is there water?
I don't know. This one wasn't that mysterious. The first one, not mysterious to anyone except Nell. That treasure is dumb and also not mysterious.
It is. Our rivers real? No, thumbs down. This is not mysterious at all.
And I generally don't find lost loves to be mysterious necessarily. So yeah, thumbs down. Reenactments? I did think the reenactments were good.
Okay, I don't really have a feeling on them either way.
I mean, they weren't like that. I'm not going to remember them, but that's just because this whole episode is boring. But
I actually really like the reenactment of the murderers cleaning out the garage.
Or them rushing in and attacking him.
Ah! Yeah, so thumbs up, I guess. We don't get a reenactment of the kidnapping monkeys, I'll warn you. That's not reenacted.
That's too bad, actually. Yeah, so thumbs up for that one. The fashion? You did like the fashion in particular.
Yeah, I think particularly the first segment had we got a variety of 70s looks between the reenactments and some still photographs. I'd give it a thumbs up. It's not like an enthusiastic thumbs up, but it's better than usual.
And Robert Stack?
hates the desert, is barely there.
Calls dirt fancy. Yeah,
Do
I
you
don't
think?
know.
Do you
Not
think that at Robert Stack's house there's only fancy dirt?
I
Like
assume so.
his
It all has
garden
like
is full of
gold.
gold. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say thumbs down. I think he was phoning it in for this. I think this whole episode is phoned in.
Yeah, this wasn't his best episode. Okay,
No,
in our Robert Stack scale of 0 to 5 Robert Stacks, how are we gonna rate this one?
I mean, your lost love isn't terrible, but
It's
everything
fine.
else is bad. So is that a 1.5? Is that a 2?
I
I'm
didn't
never gonna
think
watch it again.
the thing of it is like I didn't. The water one is frustrating, but it's not an episode that I'm gonna remember with like overt hatred. I'm probably just gonna forget about it. So I don't know if that means it's like a 1.5 or 2.
I guess that means it's a 2.
Okay,
It's not special enough to be in the 1 category.
that's true.
Yeah,
Okay, a 2.
yeah, that was a 2. That was a 2.
Wow.
I can't. I just can't believe that Wally guy.
Yeah,
So selfish. What a creep.
yeah.
I'm glad he had a bad mustache. And I'm glad someone with a better mustache came on TV to talk about how he could just fill out some paperwork and it wasn't that big a deal. He kind of got his comeuppance there. That's a little bit good. Yeah, 2.
Okay, solid 2. All
All
right.
right.
Now that we're done, do you have something to recommend?
I do. Though once again, I was like, oh boy, I never leave the house. What do I have to recommend? The days are all the same. But I remembered that one of my quarantine hobbies has been film photography.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not now that it's all snowy, but when we actually had like beautiful fall days, pretty leaves, it was nice to go out to the cemeteries, take some pictures. And it had been a long time since I had done that. It was very enjoyable. I highly recommend it. And it's good because you don't need to be around anybody, but you can still get out and about, whatever. Good quarantine hobby. But, the days are gone where you can just bring some film to Walgreens to get it developed.
Right.
So I asked friend of the pod, Stephanie, where I should get my film developed, and she recommended Citizens Photo in Portland. So that is my recommendation. It is just a film lab and I'm sure camera store that's just been open for a really long time, and they're still open, and you can send them. What you literally do, or what I've literally been doing, you just like put your film in a box, write down what you want, like develop film, 1 picture each, this size. You just send it to them. And then when it's done, they call you and tell you how much it's going to be.
I love it.
It seems like they shouldn't do the work before I pay them, but I guess that's how it's always been. So, and yeah, it's been a super enjoyable process, and I think my pictures have come out really nicely. I've been really happy with them. You can say whether or not you want like matte or gloss, or if you want a border, and they can do a lot of different types of film. There is a place that's closer to us that's out in the burbs somewhere, but Stephanie told me that they don't wear masks there. So
Oh, cool.
I decided I wasn't going to go local for that, and I'll just ship it off in the mail. I have not shopped around, so I don't know if this is like a lot more than other places would charge, but you pay, like, depending on the type of film, like $6-8 to get each roll developed, and then you pay per the print, and that could be like 35 cents each. I think it's reasonable, particularly since it's not a thing a lot of places offer anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're just like helping this family photo business.
I love it.
And I kind of actually really enjoy that, like, the surprise of like, I send it away, I don't really know what came out, and then like in a couple weeks I get my photos back in the mail, and then I get to sit down and look through them, and you get that sensory joy of being like, oh, this this worked, this didn't, whatever. But
For those of us who haven't taken a I don't know if I want to call it a real photo because I don't know
sure.
if that's accurate, but who haven't used a film camera before, what do you have the name of the camera you use?
Oh my god, no. It's I'm literally using Mac's old Canon. I couldn't tell you what model it is though.
Okay.
That he just had from back in the day. And I was talking about like, oh, I've been thinking about getting a camera. And Mac thought I meant like a digital SLR camera, which is very expensive. And I was like, no, I think it'd be fun to do some film photography. And he was like, oh, well, I still have this. But nobody wants those cameras. So you could go on eBay or I don't know, maybe Etsy or somewhere else. And for like, I don't know, $20, $30, buy what would have been considered a really nice camera in the 90s, but just nobody wants those anymore.
Right.
So,
Makes sense.
I would recommend getting one where you can change out the lens, but that just kind of depends on what you want to do, really.
Sure.
Yeah. And they make there's like hipster film cameras too that you
Oh,
could
sure.
get that are like cuter and come in different colors and whatever, but that's gonna be more like $150 and probably depending on your goals might not take as crisp photos.
Yeah.
So I would kind of recommend just getting like an older Canon or something of that ilk
That's
from
fun.
from the 80s or 90s. And I've had a lot of fun doing it. And I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just playing around.
Have you
So
got
I
any good photos of the hoarfrost? Is that how you pronounce it? That's been going on in Minnesota lately?
I have
It's
not. Rochelle
OAR.
has been taking some good photos of that. No, I haven't. I should.
We're having this like weather phenomena in Minnesota where the fog freezes on everything and it makes like all the trees covered in like this like icicle frost. Is really pretty. And
It's like
I
everything
think
is
it's
like
really called
dipped in
hoarfrost.
ice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And you get to say hoarfrost, which is
Yeah,
fun.
exactly.
Yeah. That's my recommendation. Citizens Photo in Portland. It's just citizensphoto.com if you want to take a look at their website and like they can process most types of film, but maybe take a look before you buy some film and see if they could process it. And yeah, that's my
Nice.
recommendation.
That's a good recommendation. So mine is it's been a minute since I recommended a book. Mainly because I
Oh
haven't
yeah,
been
yeah.
reading as much. In 2020, I didn't read as much as I usually do, but I read a book recently that I really liked and was eerily well timed, given the things that have been going on in our world the last week, especially. So I'm recommending the book Culture Warlords. And shout out
Mm.
to Patrick in our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group dedicated. We have a spin-off group for books. If you're not in it, you should join it because everyone's reading some really cool stuff, and I get some good recommendations from there. Perhaps it's you who wants to see what book I'm reading, I think. Patrick posted that he'd read this book, and I literally picked it up the same day. I listened to the audiobook because it sounded very interesting. I'm going to read the blurb before I talk about it. Culture Warlords, and the subtitle is My Journey into the Dark Web of White Supremacy. And it's described as a nonfiction book by the author Talia Lavin. In it, Talia Lavin describes a project of inventing online personae that allow her to meet and expose fascist white supremacists who gather in online chat rooms and websites. The book also traces the historic roots of this contemporary phenomena. So I recognize that not everyone is probably going to be in the headspace for this book right now, but I wanted to bring it up because I read it just before everything went down last week, and I think it's a really good primer. Now, obviously, this book focuses on white supremacy, but and not really like the political aspects of the right wing, but the Venn diagram of white supremacists and people who say that the election was stolen is more like a circle.
You don't
So
say.
I think this is a good way if you're up for it and you're feeling kind of overwhelmed, trying to understand how we got to a point where right wing shitheads are storming the US Capitol. I think this may be a good place to start. Now, like I said, it's not all encompassing, but it gives you a good idea of who these people are and how they use the internet to organize and spread their hate. And Talia Lavin's story of this project she set out on is also it's deadly serious, because there is, like, I think Patrick in his post in the Facebook group mentioned, like, that they have a body count, which they absolutely do, and obviously they do even more now after just this last week. But so it's very serious, but it's also funny. Like, at one point, Talia Lavin is catfishing a Nazi, which is hilarious. So there is some levity in the book as well, but I thought it was a really good, primer on how we got here and how these people use the internet. Because if you're not, like, following, like, you don't, like, the world that these people live in on the internet is a world that is totally different than the rest of us live in, and no one wants to go into those spaces, and Talia Lavin does it. She invents these persona, and she goes and she interacts with these people, and really finds out what they're doing and how they are spreading misinformation and hate, and it's scary, but also really enlightening. There's a whole section about modern anti-fascist organizing, which I think would be really informative for a lot of people. It's sort of towards the end of the book. So I think it's a good place to start, and I really was interested in the internet aspect of it. After I read this book, I was interested in finding other books about, like, the dark web, and I haven't really found anything that scratched that itch yet. So, but yeah, that was sort of where my motivation for reading this book came from, and I thought it was really well done. And if you listen to the audiobook, Talia Lavin narrates it and does a really good job. And it just came out. This book was, like, very well timed. I think it just came out not that long ago. So it's newly published, and yeah, I do recommend. I know a lot of people probably aren't gonna have the stomach for it, but if you're trying to find some sort of, like, I don't know, some sort
Context.
of context or something to kind of, like, get a better understanding, I think this might be a good place to start.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Catfishing a Nazi too is just like chef's kiss. It's so good. It's
Oh,
so good.
man.
Yeah, you gotta to get those wins where you can. So I enjoyed it.
Well, that's a solid recommendation. I also want to tell people, to remind people that we have an Animal Crossing group,
Yes.
and that I'm looking forward to an upcoming event we're going to have in that group. So yesterday, I amused myself basically all day by finding out that there's a very unpopular Animal Crossing villager named Wart Jr., who is a frog that no one wants because he's ugly, but
Do
his
we have to
name...
explain villagers to people who might not play Animal Crossing?
Oh, yeah, okay. So
People are probably like, what is she talking about?
So when you play Animal Crossing, you have a little island, but people come and animals, it's Animal Crossing. Animals come as your villagers, and they live on the island in little houses with you. And you can, there's different characters that could be these villagers that come.
And some villagers are highly sought after. Like, people pay actual real world money on eBay for certain villagers that, like, maybe you can't. So you can get these little amiibos, and you can, like, force villagers to come live on your island, but you have to, like, actually buy those from, like, Nintendo, or they sell knockoffs. But, like, some villagers don't have them yet because they're like new, and so people, like, trade villagers on these, like, these marketplaces. It's wild. So some villagers people really want, and it's normally really cute ones, like a cute little cat with 2 different color eyes. And then there's less sought after villagers.
Yeah, one of my OG villagers when I first started was this purple frog named Diva. And I hated that bitch like nobody's business. And everyone hates Diva. Everyone hates Diva. She's the worst. She's ugly. She's rude. I don't want her on my island. I would give her bad gifts in the hope that she would just move away. But I gave her a moldy dress and she hung it on the wall. I gave her some seaweed and she just left it on the floor. Anyway, Diva's long gone. But I was thinking about I need to shake up my island. Let me look into some villagers I could get. And then I was considering getting this popular villager, Tangy, a cat who looks like an orange.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And while I was looking for other villagers I might want, I came upon Wart Jr. And the whole thing amused me so much that I ended up, as Samantha was talking about, I bought this little card to make Wart Jr. come to my island. It cost me $1.67. I feel like it's money well spent.
Just
And
ugly frog with literal warts all over its face. It's so ugly.
but the name Wart Jr., implying the existence of a Wart Sr., is such a good name for a frog.
It's true.
So anyway, so I have to get the card, and then I have to invite him to my island 3 times, blah, blah, blah. Once Wart Jr. is finally on my island, we are going to have a meetup to welcome him. So my whole point was just that you should be in our Animal Crossing Facebook group so that you can come to the Wart Jr. welcome party.
So weird. This is so weird, and I love it. Yes, please join our Animal Crossing Facebook group. It's really fun. I feel like my interest in Animal Crossing has like waned slightly, but every once in a while I get like a burst of motivation to like do something else. And
that's why I've gotten a little bit bored. That's why I was like, I need to shake it up with something new. Wart Jr. I told King about it to Arden, and she was like, I have never heard of this character. Are you sure this is even in this game?
And Arden is like an Animal Crossing aficionado. Arden has 2 islands and is always on Reddit, like trading items. And yeah, if Arden hasn't heard of Wart Jr., you know it's a very unpopular villager.
Good old Wart Jr. What if he's my favorite? No, he'll never replace Claude for me. Well, what if he's my favorite? My favorite villager.
He could become your second favorite, maybe. I have a hard time believing you're going to fall. What kind of personality does he have? Is he grumpy?
Yeah, he's a cranky.
Okay. Yeah. I have a hard time believing you're going to fall in love with a cranky frog named Wart Jr., but maybe.
His goal is to be a detective.
That's perfect for this podcast, though. He could be our new mascot. Well, I'm not going to let him replace the donkey, but he can join the donkey as another mascot.
He could be the Animal Crossing Facebook group mascot. Whether people like it, I'm sure people will not be happy about this decision. Whether people like it or not,
all the gifts you give Wart Jr. should be like detective clothes. Like you should give him a little trench coat.
Oh my god, yes, the hat.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Okay. Let's wrap it up.
I'm sure people will love this. Okay, let's plug our shit.
Yeah, so you might have noticed we got some Facebook groups. We also have a website, perhapsit'syu.com. We keep our recommendations there. There's also a contact page. If you have had a paranormal experience, if something spooky has happened to you, we would love to hear about it. Send us an email at perhapsitopodcast@gmail.com, or if you would have a psychic dream.
We want to hear about your psychic dreams. Absolutely.
Even if that psychic dream suggests that murderers cleaned out a garage, I want to hear about it.
I kind of extra want to hear about that. But anyway.
We need some new 5-star reviews. It's been a little while. It's been a little while, and our egos are shrinking. So that's unacceptable. So leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Podcast Addict or however you get your podcasts. And be sure to subscribe, a thing I never say. Be sure to sign up for our Patreon if you want to hear us talk about the reboot.
Yes, and I think we only have one more Patreon episode to do about the reboot, so then we're going to be looking for some other options for bonus content. So if you have anything you want to suggest, let us know.
I feel like we should do another episode of Paranormal Home Inspectors.
Yes, we absolutely should. I love that show.
Brian and his list.
Brian just smacking down everybody's hopes of having a haunted house.
Yeah, so good. I think that was all the stuff I need to say, right? Instagram, Twitter.
Oh yeah, all the social medias. We're there.
Yeah. Man, I'm so excited about Wart Jr.
You'll have to update everybody about Wart Jr. once he's moved in.
Someone in our group was like, he's on my island and he's really annoying. It's like, shh, no. I don't.
You probably could have got him from them.
I'm sure I could have, but
kept your $1.64.
My $1's gone, so it's okay.
I'm trying to imagine that Etsy seller when they get that order for Wart Jr. Like, someone actually bought this frog.
Well, they had... Okay, sorry, we're still talking about Animal Crossing, but one of my least favorite villagers I've ever had was this wolf named Kyle, and they
The
were selling
stoner
him.
wolf.
They were selling him for $10.
I do think there's a certain Animal Crossing player that really loves Kyle. I don't
hate
know why.
Kyle.
I don't know why.
The first thing he ever said to me was, "I can tell you're happy I'm here."
Kyle is like the creepy ex-boyfriend that it was a really bad decision. You kind of want to forget that time of your life in college. It's like if you took that person and made them a cute video. He's not cute, but if you put him into a cute video game, like why anyone would do that, I don't know. But that's literally this wolf.
I'm not a fan at all. Nope. But if you want him on your island, go to eBay. It'll cost you $10.
That seems way overpriced. I feel like,
Eh.
yeah, if I had him on my island, I'd probably pay someone $10 to come take him.
I would have paid $10 to get him off my island sooner. I put his house in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by trees. Anyway, goodbye, everybody.
All right.
Keep barking.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, my dog does not like that I'm in this closet. I'm sorry. Yes.